My name is Idris Rashid. I like to think of myself as a futurist, a visionary, an optimist. I follow the best people in their respective fields to bring you the best and most fact-supported content. I launched the Positively Living podcast, or as I sometimes like to call it, this mini podcast, because I strongly believe that one of the best ways of coping with life's events is by living a life of positive thoughts, words, and actions. However, not many of us know how to dive into living positively, especially in the face of seemingly constant negative events. This podcast is designed to train you how to begin doing just that. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Positive Living Podcast. I can't believe that we are already in mid-March. Isn't that amazing? This year is up and going. We're off to I don't know about you, but I'm off to a really great start. So I decided to start this podcast because of the fact that, like I said before, back in 2020, I decided to start my own finance business, helping people learn about finances. And I decided to come in full time back in 2023 because of the fact I knew that this is where I really wanted to be. This is where I was needed the most. And I remember when I made the decision to go full time into the business, that I felt this huge flow of gratitude, this huge flow of positivity. I felt like my life was really going in the way that I wanted it to go. I felt like I was on the right track. So I thought that everyone could benefit from feeling the same feeling that I have. But how do we do it? How do we change our lives and make that decision to go into living a life of more positivity, especially when things seem to be falling apart all around us? Now, if you've been keeping up with the news lately, which I hope you have not, but sometimes you can't get away from it, there's so much negativity going around right now. And not even in media, also in our daily lives. Think about your work life. What is that like? Maybe some even in your home life with some family members or neighbors or people in your community. So how do we begin to live a life for more positivity? How do we go towards make that step going towards that when there's so much negativity going around? Well, that's what this podcast is for. It's begin to take the steps towards taking action towards having a happier life, through choosing to live a life for more positivity. It's something that we have to do every day. It's not just a light switch that's going to go off that we can turn on and off. It's always going to be there. Something we have to actively work at. So I'm really excited about today's episode because we're going to be talking about the brain. Now, I know that I do a lot of things that has to do with the mind and the brain and the way it works. And I think it's really important because that's the first step of living a happier life, living or making any changes in your life. When I decided to go into my business full time, I had to change my mindset from going from thinking like an employee to thinking more like an entrepreneur. So what's some of the differences? What's some of the things I really had to learn? I really had to learn the power of positivity and how it really can bring you through those tough times. I know I depended on it when I first came in, and it really helped me. And I really want to help you guys out there feel the same things that I felt, and to really boost your lives. So I'm gonna share my screen so I can get into today's topic here. So we're going to be talking about none other than, like I just said, the brain. Let me get that up here. Now the brain is like I said, it's one of the most important organs or muscles that we have in our mind because it controls everything. It controls pretty much how we live our lives and how we base our lives and everything that goes along with it. Now, do you ever wake up in the morning feeling, kind of heavy still? As we enter into the end of winter and spring setting in, depending on where you are, you may find that it's still hard to get up and get out of bed in the mornings because of the season. Are you the type of person who finds it easy to get up when there's light out instead of when it's dark out? I don't know about you guys, but my alarm goes off, in the mornings and it's still dark out. The last thing I want to do is get up and do anything. I just want to kind of just hit snooze or maybe even turn it off, roll over and go back to sleep. Or maybe there's something going on in your life that's heavy to bear and you're having issues carrying it out with everything else that you're dealing with. Well, today's episode is designed to help you to take the necessary steps towards handling all of this in a more productive way. So what we're going to discuss is pretty much how to boost your mood, how to feel less down. I know a lot of us feel that way a lot. And how to manage the stress that's in our life, because I'm sure we all can agree there's stress all around. And then towards the end, we're going to focus on 10 foods that's great for feeding the brain. Remember in an earlier episode, we talked about making sure that we are nourishing our brains with the right food so we're making the right cells. What is your brain made of? Is it made up of potato chips and fast food? or you feed it more nurturing foods. So today's episode is dedicated to Dr. Daniel Ammons. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Now, Dr. Ammon is the world's leading psychiatrist and brain disorder specialist. He has performed over 200,000 brain scans from the likes of Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, and even Kendall Jenner. He is the founder and CEO of the Ammons Clinic, as well as founder of Change Your Brain Foundation and BrianMD. So needless to say, he kind of knows what he's talking about. And even though he's in his 60s, as you can see here, his TikTok, still goes viral every week. I find that quite impressive. So when talking about the brain and brain function, Dr. Ammons says that the best approach to understanding the function of the brain is to understand mental health in general. He doesn't like to use the term mental illness because he said it shames people, and the term usually goes directly towards negativity or the negative. And when we look at the difference between the brain and the mind, he says that the physical function of the brain actually creates the mind. So a couple of good examples of this is, people that are suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Mental health is something that we're diving into more these days. We're talking about it more. It's become a little bit more mainstream. And when we look into these brain scans of people with Alzheimer's, as you can see here, it does have an effect on the brain and the brain's function, just compared to the images here. And another interesting thing that I learned too is that a lot of people are having cognitive, or what's called cognitive issues, after experiencing COVID, as we see here in this example. Now, one of his patients stated that after they experienced COVID, that there were really times when they felt really anxious, like a lot of anxiety. And it's because of the way that COVID does affect the brain, depending on what strain of the virus that you get. Now, Dr. Ammons lives in Newport Beach, California. And if you're familiar with that area, you should know that, this is where some of the world's best plastic surgeons live. And, people who live there care more about their physical appearance than their actual brains. I think it's funny that, he says I think it's funny, and I found it interesting too, after hearing this, that people are more worried about their, breasts, bellies, and butts than their actual brain. And believe it or not, our brain is what really makes us attractive. It's about mindset. It's about deciding to be happy. He says that you can change all of those things about yourself, but you can still feel just as upset or miserable or unhappy as you did before, because it all starts with the power of changing your mind. Now, so what can we do to help improve our brain function? He says that one of the things is brain envy. You got to care and be more mindful of your brain. You got to avoid anything that hurts it. Anything that anything that you regularly do that you can help it is probably one of the best things that we can do. And there are 3 macro habits that affects, that has the biggest impact on our brain. The first one is starting each day and going into positive affirmations, as we can see here. I am kind. I am brave. I am smart. I am grateful. I am enough. I am strong. I am loved, as we see here. Now, me personally, whenever I meditate in the morning, the first thing that I do is, once I get my breathing down pat, breathing in and out, which again, we'll go into this in more detail in the future episode, is that I say to myself, today is a great day. I expect great things to happen today. I expect to see greatness throughout the day. So what am I doing when I do this? What am I setting myself up for? Well, I'm giving myself the opportunity to tap into that reticular activating system that we talked about before. And I'm going to see evidence of things happening throughout the day. And then you see more signs of the day being more grateful or more great. And this is a habit that we can all attribute to. So I challenge you as we go into this week here to every day when you get up to say these things. Say that today is going to be a great day. Affirm it. Say great things are going to happen today. And they will. I expect to see greatness throughout the day. And you will start to see those things that are happening that are great as your day goes on. So it actually becomes a new habit. Once we get into the habit of doing this, we can actually see, what our lives really can be like and what our day can be like. So Dr. Amos also suggests taking a high quality supplement due to the fact that, our American-based diet, it lacks so much. Just taking like a B6 or B12, even says omega-3 fatty acids and folate. What it does, what he's found is that it decreases the conversion of mild cognitive impairment in patients suffering from Alzheimer's. So basically, depending on the situation, if you improve your diet and give your brain what it needs, it can actually reverse some of the effects that's going on, especially when it comes to like memory and of course feeling great. So what are other chemicals that affects our brain? Now I found this interesting. One is serotonin. Now we're going to talk about serotonin a little bit more in the upcoming episode, probably even be our next episode. So, but I do want to give you a little bit of what serotonin is. Serotonin is pretty much the feel-good hormone. If your serotonin levels are low, you tend to feel less, respected. It's called the feel-good hormone because the higher your serotonin level is, the better you tend to feel. So if you wake up feeling good and almost want to leap out of bed and get into your day, that probably means that your serotonin level is a little higher. But this also explains why people, are in a situation where they're an enormous amount of, where their serotonin level is low and they tend to feel down. Now, one of the things that I found too when doing the study is that alcohol can decrease your serotonin levels. So it's just something like alcohol can bring it down. And we actually, like I said, talk about it in a more upcoming episode. But lower serotonin levels can cause you to feel more depressed. So this explains why whenever you're in a situation where there's a lot of alcohol consumption and someone gets offended, it tends to end up a little bit more like this. How many times have you seen fights break out or arguments happen all centered around alcohol? And it's because of the fact that it does take that serotonin level and decrease it. Now, don't get me wrong, alcohol can be a great way to celebrate or to have when you're with family and friends or whatever, but it can also get out of hand pretty quick. And it all goes back to what your mindset is going into it. How many times have you been in the mood or been in a situation and you consume alcohol and it made the situation worse? Well, it's probably because of their serotonin level. And, side note, another cool thing that I learned from digging into this research is that the brain and the gut are actually formed from the same clumps of cells when you're in the womb. So when you're growing as a baby or turning into a baby, the same clumps of cells that come together that forms your intestines or your stomach also forms the brain. That's why you get that gut feeling, I call it. So many times you feel an instinct in your gut and you're just reacting to something before you realize, for the brain, I should say, realize what it really is. And I also believe that that's why we're hearing so much about hearing that the gut is what's called a second brain. Found that interesting, right? So, like I said, when your serotonin levels are low, it could make you feel a little down. You start saying things like, I can't do it. I'm not worthy. I must be perfect. I must not make a mistake. I'm not good enough. Nobody loves me. I'm sure we've all been in this situation too, where we felt like this and we felt like it was a permanent thing, but it doesn't have to be. As long as we understand the brain and the brain's function and how the brain works, we can overcome these things a little bit. Now, in order to have good brain health, Dr. Amen says, there's some foods that we should eat that actually supports to basically giving our brain what it needs, helping us to grow out of the state that we're in and to help support it. For one thing, natural sunlight. Natural sunlight is something that's really great for the brain because of the fact that it activates your inner clock system pretty much. So think about the times that you've woken up and the sun's up and shining. Maybe it's a day you don't have to get up and go to work right away, but you do need to get up and get going. And you tend to feel a little bit better about the day than, let's say, if you had to get up earlier when it's still dark out. That is one great way to boost your mood. And when it comes to the foods here, so the first one that we're looking at here is blueberries. Now, I love blueberries. I don't know about you, but they're packed with what's called antioxidants. So they actually go in and clean out some of the bad things that we have going on in our bodies and help pave the way for new good cells to grow and to prosper. And blueberries also improves memory and what's called cognitive function by protecting the brain from overall stress. I think that's something that we all could use right now. Another thing is fatty fish. Now, I'm a fish lover. I'm a seafood lover, so this one isn't too hard for me. But what happens when we consume fish? But fatty fish is very rich in what's called omega-3 fatty acids, which is essential for memory and concentration. Now, Dr. Amos also explained to us that when I was listening to the podcast that he was on, that our brain pretty much is made up of the fat that we get from these fatty fish. That's why if you have a diet that's pretty much fish induced, then you tend to have a better, higher brain function quality than if you ate like some of the other meats that are out there. And 25% of the nerve cell membranes is made up of the brain. So if you're deficient and the brain does not function as well, or your brain isn't functioning as well, maybe try adding a little bit more fatty fish into your diet if you're along with it. Another thing is eggs. Now this is interesting too, because well, again, I'm an egg lover, and now I have something supporting my love for eggs. Eggs are a great source of choline, which supports memory and brain development, and protein for sustained energy. So it can actually sustain us throughout the day. So it's good to eat eggs in the morning if you're eating breakfast, because it tends to stay with you a little bit longer. You don't really experience that crash around midday or mid-morning if you have like a bagel or like a sugary pastry. Eggs are really great for like I said, brain development. So it can also help repair some of the damage that's done from the brains when we do have those when those cells need to be replaced and those toxins need to be cleaned. Nuts and seeds. Let's look at that, because they're very high in fats, which is the good fats, the vitamin E, and of course antioxidants, like we learned with blueberries. So nuts and seeds can boost brain function and improve focus. Now this is really good too, because think about if you have a test coming up or some kind of task, I should say, and you really need to be on your A game, you really need to be attentive and be able to focus. Maybe add a little bit of nuts and seeds into your diet, like the day before or the night before, could help you with that. Oats. Now I found this very interesting too, because I'm not really on the whole keto train as much, but I do see the benefits of having a more ketogenic diet. And even if you are on those, I see that, or I've learned that oats could be a really good element for concentration. So low GI food that produce steady energy and it improves concentration. And they're also high in what's called B vitamins. So maybe eating a little bit of oatmeal in the morning before you go off on your day, not too much, but just a little bit to get you going. Maybe that can help improve your cognitive function throughout the day as well. Now, of course, we all know that leafy greens are great for you. You've always heard that. They're packed with vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, and of course, antioxidants. It's a theme here. And leafy greens can support brain health and cognitive function. And it should be a staple in any diet because of the fact that there are only great benefits that come from eating these leafy greens. It's funny, when I was a kid, my brother and I, we never really had to learn how to appreciate leafy green vegetables. We always ate our vegetables. It was always something that, I know a lot of kids don't like the taste of it, they don't want to deal with it, but that's something we never really had to deal with. And I truly believe that as a result of having that when I was younger, I tend to have a healthier lifestyle now. I tend to not get sick so much. If I do feel something, it usually comes and goes pretty quickly before it becomes an issue. I can fight it off pretty quick. And it's because I'm taking advantage of what comes from these leafy greens. Dark chocolate. Now, who cannot get on board with this one? I love chocolate. And when I heard that dark chocolate was so good, it has good antioxidants and it's really good for focus and mood and memory, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a part of my daily diet. Now, I'm not saying go out and eat a whole chocolate bar every day, but specifically, you got to understand the difference between milk chocolate and dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is more natural. It has more of these vitamins and minerals in it. And it's great for us. So just having a little bit each day, every day, or just a few times a week can have significant changes, in our, in your life. Berries. Now we talked about blueberries, but what about raspberries and strawberries? they're rich in vitamin C and antioxidants as well, and they help reduce stress and improve brain function. So isn't it interesting to know that, just by eating a few berries every day could affect the overall function of your brain? So maybe if you had or incorporate a little bit more of these into your diet, that it could, tend to improve your mood. You're going to feel better, which is going to cause you to perform better. Whole grains. Now, I was kind of on the fence about this one too, because of the fact that, again, when I think more of a keto-centered diet, a lot of it excludes some of these things. But when you look at the health benefits of it, maybe it's not so bad to incorporate just a little bit in every day. So what does whole grains do? They provide a steady release of glucose, which fuels the brain and improves function and energy levels. So what that means is that it improves the function of the brain. So it helps more, the brain be more on point, and it also affects energy levels, and as a result. So you tend to feel a little bit more energetic throughout the day. Again, it goes back to feeding your brain the foods that it needs to help with cognitivity and help it produce the cells that you need to have their highest function. So maybe if you have a little bit of whole grains like you see here, incorporating a little bit of it in your diet each week can improve your overall mood and your overall function. And then the last thing was Greek yogurt. And I thought this one was interesting too, because I'm not really a yogurt lover, but I did learn that, Greek yogurt is very high in protein and probiotics. Greek yogurt can support gut health, which we talked about, the second brain, which is linked to improved brain function and mood. So it's very interesting to know that, just eating the right foods and being mindful of the foods that you're eating could affect your mood. It could boost productivity. It could boost your mood. Now, Dr. Amen states that, 50% of people around 85 or older will be diagnosed with dementia. And for those of you who don't know, dementia, which again I learned too, is it's a term that's used for several diseases that affects memory, thinking, and the ability to perform daily activities. We tend to see this more in older people as they age, and it's usually what I heard referred to as the gateway to Alzheimer's. But I've also learned that dementia is a kind of its own category, when it comes to these disorders. Just because someone has dementia doesn't mean it's going to necessarily lead to Alzheimer's, but it has seen in the past that people that have suffered from Alzheimer's have had some form of dementia in the beginning. And I thought this was interesting too, because of the fact that, like I said, dementia refers to any disease that affects memory and cognitive behavior. So it could be anything, linked to it. It could have like a few subcategories. So how can we fight these diseases and cognitive brain disorder and improve our health? Well, for one thing, Dr. Amen said that we should really focus on blood flow. Again, he goes back to saying anything that we do, I don't know if I said this earlier, but if I did, I think it bears repeating. Anything that we do, no matter what it is, we should ask ourselves, is this good for my brain or is this bad for my brain? And I know it's not always easy to do, especially when you're around people who are not necessarily on the same page as you, or people who are doing their own thing and you're so used to doing those with them. But the fact that if you're more mindful of the things that you do, the little things, the individual things that you do, then maybe it could boost your overall performance and help you be more mindful of what you need to do to boost those. So we're saying that blood flow is really good, especially when it comes to strength training, as we see here. And I thought this was interesting because I heard this from a number of people now that as you get older, one of the best ways to have good health and to improve your brain function in this case is by doing strength training. I always thought that as long as you're getting some cardio in, getting some fresh air, that maybe that's enough. But it's really important that we do strength training even into our older years, because of the fact that the body's going to react to it. And the stronger that we are physically, the more it boosts our immune system, and the more we are able to fight off some of these diseases that come on later in life. I'm side note too, as you know, that I worked for 10 years as a clinical laboratory specialist, and I was in the hospital setting, so I got to see a lot of the I guess what could happen when you get older. I got to see a lot of patients coming in that had issues when they were in their older age, and I had a conversation with my doctor. I said, I don't want to wait until I'm in my 50s and 60s to learn how to live a lifestyle or a healthy lifestyle in my 50s and 60s. I wanted to start now in my 30s. And I think that was something that was really profound for me, because of the fact that the best way to solve a problem is prevent it from happening. And study after study after study that I've seen, it all goes back to strength training and getting good exercise, because again, it does promote good blood flow, and it does help fight off a lot of the what the body tends to do as we age. And then, of course, as we get older in life, it's very important to never start learning. Always learn new things. Always be open to learning new things. And not even that, but I also think that's important to learn how multiple ways of doing the things that you do each day, because it does keep the brain more engaged. As an education major, I really focus on this. What can my students do to improve their brain or their memory overall? Well, what can they do to be better students? And not just when they're with me, but also when they leave my presence. And one of the best things that you can do overall is to, understand the benefits of long-term learning. Learn new skills, learn a new language. Trust me, it's really hard. Learn a new skill. Maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do, but you never really dove into it. I'm not saying that, go out and take a full course on it or spend hours and hours online learning how to do it, but maybe just taking like a few minutes each day to read up about it, learn what it really is, learn how to get into it more. And then, of course, we have to reduce the toxins that we have. Now, there's just so much toxins out there for the foods that we eat. If you're a city dweller, like I used to be, maybe you're getting some of the pollution from the city, urban areas, things like that. There's so many toxins all around us. And from the foods that we eat to even the people that we associate with. Can you believe that? The people that you hang around with could affect your mood, could affect your brain. And I found that interesting because when you really think about it, when we're in our most miserable state, or a state when we think we need the most help, what's usually going on around us? What are some of the people that we are with? Unfortunately, it could be family members that you live with and you have to deal with every day, or it can even be coworkers that you work with. So many of us are in a toxic environment in our work, and we don't even realize that it's affecting our mood, it's affecting our brain function, and it's not good for it. So maybe being more mindful of what toxins really is, and asking yourself too, what's around me that's toxic that I need to either reduce or eliminate altogether. So, as we went through this episode today, let me come back so you can actually see me. What are some of the things that we can do to improve our overall brain function? Our brain is so important. It's there to help us and to guide us each day. And again, as I was going through the study here, I was so surprised at some of the little things that we can do every single day to improve our overall brain function. And it's something that we should be aware of all the time, because of the fact that if you just go through life mindlessly, you're going to have a life that as a result of it. We're not going to have that happiness and that we desire. And we're not going to be able to live a life with more positivity. So when we think about our brains, like I said, everything that we do should be in response to, is this good for my brain or is this bad for my brain? How do I feel right now? What is my mood? Is it because I had this to eat or maybe drink the night before or the day of? Or should I improve my diet and have more of these foods that we talked about? Maybe start incorporating a little bit more of those into your daily lives. So thank you for staying to the end of this podcast here. Like I said, I hope this helps you out to another good week, an exciting week of living a life of more positivity. I urge you too that you should follow Dr. Amons. He has a number of ways that you can reach him. Like I say, he has these institutes that he runs. You can also find him on a number of podcasts. Even if you just go to like YouTube and type in his name, and you find some of the podcasts that he's been a guest on as well. And I urge you to do it. Just take some time out and hear some more of the things that he has to say, more detail. Maybe some things will stick out to you that didn't really stick to me. So thank you for staying to the end of this podcast. And like I said, as we go into this week, let's find ways that we can improve our brain and brain function, because I think that's going to be the start to having a healthier lifestyle in general. Asking ourselves, what should we do? What should we not do, more importantly? And I'd like to let you know, too, that the Positive Living Podcast is supported by IMP Solutions, your one-stop shop for all your financial needs. Also a self-improvement agency, and for business coaching. Thank you. And I want to end with this as well. The highest consciousness of myself believes in the highest consciousness of you. You can do this. You can have a healthier life. You can have a happier life. And it doesn't mean making extreme changes today. Taking little steps each day to have a better life for yourselves and the people around you. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week.